Welcome back to Bitter Clues. I'm Jennifer, and today's story is one of the most shocking cases to come out of South Korea. Let's dive in. A lover's quarrel spiraled into a brutal crime, one that shocked Korea when the suspect was later sentenced to death, despite the long-standing moratorium on capital punishment. This is the chilling murder case of Chongji. On the afternoon of May 19, 2014, Jang, a college student on leave from Daegu University, decided to pay a visit to his ex-girlfriend Kwon's home. The two had broken up about a month earlier after a violent dispute. Disguising himself as a plumber, Chang checked first to see who was inside the apartment. When he realized only her parents were home, he left briefly, returning with a hammer, a knife, flour, spare clothes, bandages, and disinfectant. He rang the doorbell and told the person who answered that he was there to fix the pipes. Once inside, he went straight to the bathroom, stalling until Kwon's mother grew suspicious. When she came to check on him, he lured her inside, locked the door, and sprayed lacquer into her eyes, blinding her. Then, in a frenzy, he bludgeoned her repeatedly with the hammer and stabbed her with a kitchen knife. She died instantly. Hearing the chaos, Kwon's father tried to escape, but Chang chased him down, struck him with the same hammer, and stabbed him as well. Both parents were dead. Chang then covered their bodies with blankets, stole money from their wallets, and even sat down to drink alcohol he found in the house, showing no sign of remorse. To buy himself time, he used the mother's phone to send a Kakao Talk message to his ex-girlfriend. "Come home soon, I have a coming-of-age day gift for you." Kwon returned home just after midnight. As soon as she stepped inside, Chang grabbed her, dragged her to the bathroom, and forced her to look at her mother's lifeless body. He lied, telling her that her father was still alive and that if she wanted to save him, she had to do as he said. In reality, her father had already been killed hours earlier. After dragging her into the bathroom and threatening her, Chang forced his ex-girlfriend to strip and assaulted her. To further torment her, he then showed her the body of her father, lying lifeless. In shock and despair, Kwon injured herself and managed to lock herself inside a room. While Chang sat in the living room drinking and becoming intoxicated, she made a desperate decision. She leapt out of the fourth-floor window. She hit the ground hard but survived. A nearby security guard spotted her and immediately called emergency services, a move that ultimately saved her life. When paramedics arrived, they found the bodies of her parents inside the apartment. Chang, however, was gone. He had already fled the scene. This left investigators and the public asking one pressing question. Why did Chang go to his ex-girlfriend's home and slaughter her parents in cold blood? The answer may have been rooted in his past. Chang had a long history of violence, dating back to his school years. His aggressive behavior carried into his time in the Marine Corps, where he was eventually imprisoned for a year for assaulting a junior soldier. After being discharged, he returned to college and quickly rose to prominence, becoming the president of a student club. It was around this time, in February 2014, that he met Kwon, a fellow club member. They clicked instantly and began dating. At first, it seemed like an ordinary romance, but beneath the surface, Chang's violent tendencies had not disappeared. Just 2 months into their relationship, cracks began to show. Chang started speaking poorly of his girlfriend to her friends. When Kwon found out, she confronted him and asked why he would talk about her behind her back. Irritated by her questioning, Chang lashed out. He struck her. That moment was enough for Kwon. She broke up with him immediately and began avoiding him on campus. But Chang refused to let go. A few days later, he ran into Kwon in a restroom near one of the university labs. He tried to forcefully drag her back to his place. When she resisted, he hit her again and managed to take her with him. Once there, he assaulted her. Meanwhile, Kwon's friends grew concerned when she did not return from the restroom. They went looking for her, eventually finding her at Chang's residence. They brought her back to safety. Word of the incident spread quickly across the university. As a result, Chang was pressured to step down as president of the student club he once led. Doctors later examined Kwan and determined it would take 3 full weeks for her to recover from the physical abuse she endured. Her parents were enraged. They confronted Chang's parents directly, demanding accountability. Embarrassed and ashamed, his parents apologized repeatedly and forced their son to take a leave of absence from school. But instead of reflecting, Chang grew even more furious. The scolding from his parents and the loss of his club presidency left him humiliated. In his mind, everything was collapsing. That festering rage became the turning point, the catalyst for the violent and detailed plan he would soon carry out against his ex-girlfriend and her family. The items Chang carried to Kwan's home revealed just how carefully he had prepared for his crime. He brought flour, which he scattered over the bodies, likely to absorb the blood he knew would spill. He also carried disinfectant and bandages, anticipating that he might injure himself while wielding the kitchen knife. Elevator CCTV footage later showed him clutching a notebook. In it, he had written down exactly what he planned to say in order to trick his way into the apartment. The footage even captured him rehearsing his lines on the way up. After committing the murders, Chang left the apartment and stopped by a store. There, he bought alcohol and another knife before heading back home. He drank heavily and eventually passed out. It did not take long for authorities to track him down and place him under arrest. On September 19, 2014, Chongji Jin was sentenced to death during his first trial. The decision was shocking to many, as South Korea has observed a moratorium on executions since 1997. Chang appealed, submitting a handwritten letter of apology that stretched over 60 pages. But his plea was futile. The court upheld the death penalty, citing the premeditated nature of the crime and his cruel, merciless pattern of violence. The Supreme Court later confirmed the verdict, sealing his fate. At just 28 years old, Chongji Jin became the youngest person on death row in South Korea at that time. He committed one of the most brutal crimes imaginable, inflicting the deepest pain on his ex-girlfriend simply because she chose to leave him. His punishment, harsh as it may be, will never erase the lifetime of guilt and trauma Kwan now carries. This case brought long overdue attention to the issue of dating violence, something that for too long was overlooked or tolerated. The truth is, there are still countless victims suffering in silence, too afraid to speak up. But remember, abuse of any kind, whether physical, emotional, or even stalking, must never be excused. No circumstance can ever justify it. That is all for today's case. I'm Jennifer. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join us for the next story. Until then, stay safe.